Hi friends, today we're going to talk about our 1 and 2 step equations quiz from Friday. The first part here says to solve the following equations, be sure to show all of your work. So we're going to look at number 1. It says negative 14 is equal to 1/7 x. Now for me, I went ahead and rewrote this as negative 14 equals x over 7. They're the same thing. And this helps me because I know I'm going to have to multiply by 7 on both sides of my equal sign to get x by itself. I'm multiplying by the reciprocal technically, and when I do that, these 7's cancel and I'm left with my x. And then negative 14 times 7 is negative 98. So my answer for number 1, if my pen will work, there we go, should be negative 98. For number 2, x plus 3 over 2 equals negative 6. We use the same principle we used in the first one. I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by positive 2. Again, fractions are the same as division, so I need to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So when I multiply both of these sides by 2, those cancel, and I'm left with this top part, x plus 3 equals, if I multiply by 2 on the left, I must do it on the right. Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. Now I need to get x by itself, so I need to do the opposite. Again, the opposite of addition is subtraction. 3 minus 3 is 0, that cancels. If I do it on the left, I must do it on the right. Negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. And friends, now that we can use a calculator, make sure you're using your calculator so we don't miss those silly errors, especially with our negatives. Looking at number 3, I have 2n over 6 equals 12. Again, same principle. Fractions are the same as division, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to multiply both sides by positive 6. My 6's cancel because I'm multiplying by the reciprocal. So now I'm left with 2n equals, and I know that 12 times 6 is 72. Now, the 2 and the n here, even though we can't see it, they're technically being multiplied, and I need to do the opposite to get n by itself. So I'm going to divide both of these sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancels to give me 1n. And when I take 72 and divide it by 2, I get 36. So n equals 36 for number 3. Flipping over to number 4, we talked about this combining like terms. So if I look at the right side of my equal sign here, I have 3.5x minus 2.7x. This is simply a subtraction problem in your calculator. So when you subtract 3.5 minus 2.7, we get 0.8x. And I can combine these because the x's are the same. And it equals negative 6. Now, in order to get x by itself, that 0.8 and the x are being multiplied. I need to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.8. That cancels. Now I can just take negative 6 and divide it by 0.8. And when I do that, I get negative 7.5. So x here is equal to negative 7.5. Moving down to number 5. Whenever I have a word problem with a lot of words, I always like to highlight. It just helps me clarify the information I actually need versus what's not important. So it says you are a contractor and you charge $45 for a site visit plus an additional $24 per hour for each hour you spend working at the site. Write and solve an equation to determine how many total hours you have to earn $765. Okay, so a couple of things right off the bat. If it's $45 for a site visit, that's a one-time thing. They're not charging that each hour. So I know that I'm going to start with 45. That's just a one-time charge. Now the additional $24 per hour, we don't know how long the contractor is going to be there. So I'm just going to use H for hours to represent the number of hours that contractor might be there. And since we don't know how many hours he is going to be there, H is our variable. But I do know he charges $24 per hour, so I'm going to put plus 24H. And again, that's 24 times H because it's $24 per hour. And then I'm going to set it equal to 765 because that's the total amount of money that you are looking to earn is $765. So now I want to solve for H. The first thing I want to do, this 45 here is positive, so I need to subtract it to get it to be 0, so they cancel. And if I subtract 45 on my left, I have to do it on my right as well. 765 minus 700 or minus 45 is 720 equal to 24H. Now I need to get H by itself. The same principle we've been doing. 24 and H are being multiplied, so I need to do the opposite. And the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both of these sides by the number 24. So now I just take 720 and divide it by 24. And when I do that, I get 30. So if you were a contractor, you would need to work a total of 30 hours to earn $765. And then the last one here, number 6, again, I'm going to highlight. It says the cost C in dollars of making N watches is represented by the equation C equals 15N plus 85. How many watches are made when the cost is $385? With word problems and equations, they're kind of giving us like a recipe of what we need to do. It already tells me my cost is 385, so I'm just going to plug this 385 in for C. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. 385 equals 15N plus 85. Now I just solve it like a normal equation. I need to get this 15N by itself, so I'm going to do the opposite of addition here to get rid of this 85. I'm going to subtract. These cancel. 385 minus 85 is 300. And I bring down my 15N. Now remember, the 15 and the n are being multiplied, so I need to do the opposite to undo it. And the inverse or the opposite is dividing both sides by 15. And when I do that, I get a singular n is equal to 300 divided by 15, which is 20. So they can make a total of 20 watches when the cost is $385.